Let's deploy a Windows RDP server in the cloud for free. Yes, free. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your own AWS account, and together we're going to deploy our very own private Windows server in AWS using the free tier. So stick around and let's get to it. Hello there, welcome to my channel. Today's video is a fun one because we're going to play around and deploy an EC2 instance in AWS using the AWS free tier. Now before we jump into the nitty-gritty details, let's understand what the AWS free tier is. AWS free tier is an offering from Amazon Web Services that allows new users to explore and experiment with various AWS services at no cost for a limited period. It's an awesome way to get hands-on experience with the cloud and understand how AWS services work. Now let's check out the website for the AWS free tier. To access it, open your web browser and go to aws.amazon.com/free. Now on here you can see we have a link in the middle to create an account. We'll get to that in a moment. And below that, you'll see the top product categories and finally the free tier details section. The offering that we're interested in is the Amazon EC2 750 hours per month. Okay, so now let's create an AWS account. Let's scroll back up and click on the Create a Free Account button. Here you'll be guided through a series of steps where you'll need to provide some personal information such as your name, email address, and a password. Once you've filled in your details, you'll need to provide some payment information. Now don't worry, this is primarily for verification purposes and you won't be charged as long as you stay within the free tier limits. However, if you decide to use services outside the free tier, make sure to keep an eye on your usage to avoid any unexpected charges. After completing the account creation process, you'll have access to the AWS Management Console. This is where you'll manage your AWS resources and services. Okay, so now we have our AWS account created. Let's go ahead and create our Windows RDP server instance. To get there, we need to go to the EC2 section. So you can just search for EC2 in the search bar and click EC2 there. Next, we'll need to open the Launch Instance Wizard, which you see right here in the middle of the screen, and click that. We'll need to give our server a name. I've went ahead and just called mine My RDP Server. And the next thing we'll need to do is we'll need to select an Amazon machine image. So this is basically like the pre-built disk image that has the operating system that you want on there. So you see we have quite a few selections. We have Amazon Linux, Mac OS, Ubuntu, Windows, Red Hat, and you name it. So for this exercise, we're just going to select Windows and we're going to select the Microsoft Windows Server 2022 base. If you do click in this menu though, you'll see we have other options available to us like the 2019 base, 2016 core base, and you notice that you see a lot of these have the free tier eligible on the right hand side of it, and then some of them do not. Obviously, if you want to stay within the free tier, you want to select one of these images here and not the other ones that you see, so we're just going to go with the defaults here. The next thing we need to do is select an instance type. This basically is the specifications for the server that we want to use, and we defined here basically how much CPU, how much RAM, and some other things that server would have. We're going to stay within the free tier eligible, so we're just going to select T2 Micro as it is already selected for us. The next thing that we need to do is use or create a new key pair. The key pair is a way to securely connect to your instance using a predefined key. If you don't have a key pair already created, you can click this button here and you can create one and download it to your computer. But in my case, I already have a few key pairs created, so I'm just going to select one of these and move on to the next section. In network settings, we need to make a couple tweaks. So we're going to go ahead and click the edit button here. I'm going to leave the VPC and the subnet as it is. The important thing though is if you want to be able to connect to your RDP server, you need to connect to it over the public internet. So you need to assign the auto assign public IP and set that to enable. Next thing we'll need to do is assign a security group to the RDP server. The important thing to note is that you see that we have RDP or TCP 3389 selected here. As of right now, the source type would be from anywhere. Anywhere could be anywhere on the internet, so whether you're at your home or you're at Starbucks with your laptop or you're at your workplace or wherever not, This is typically not the best for security. If you really just want to use this at home, then you could just select My IP here, and that will just restrict it to just your IP address only, which would make it a little bit more secure. However, without the key pair, which would provide the administrative credentials, it's a little bit harder, but still this kind of limits the scope to who can access your server and from where. So in my case, I would select My IP, and then only my IP address will be able to get there. I'll go ahead and do that. Now we're going to go down to storage, and we're going to leave the defaults at 30 gigabytes because that's what the server needs. And we're going to go ahead and click the Launch Instance button here. And this is going to take a little bit. So see, we got success. Now if we go over to instances, you're going to see that our RDP server is in pending state, and here's where we'll have to wait for a few minutes while it finishes spinning up the EC2 instance and then boots up the Microsoft RDP server. So I'm just going to let this finish. We'll come back here in a second, and we will see the finished result.
5 minutes later.
Okay, well, now that that's done, you can see that our Windows RDP server is running and our status checks have passed. So next thing we need to do is connect to it. So let's do that now. So I'm going to select the RDP server and click connect. But before we connect to it, we need to click the RDP client here, and then we need to download our remote desktop file. So I'll go ahead and click that. So you can see I went down to my downloads. Hard to see there. It's on the bottom of my screen. And then the next thing we need to do is we need to get the password for this to be able to log into the server. So we'll click the Get Password button, and then we're going to click the Upload Private Key file, and this is where we're going to upload the AWS private key that we downloaded previously. So I'm going to click the Upload button here, and then you'll see that in there, and you just click the Decrypt Password. Now all you need to do is just copy this password to Notepad for safekeeping, because this is the password you'll need to use to log into your Windows RDP server. Okay, so we can go ahead and click cancel out of this now, and we're going to go ahead and open up our RDP server client using the file that was provided. And you'll see now it says, okay, here's your enter user account. Here's your username is already in there. Now we just need to enter the password. So I'm going to go back in here, copy my password out of this notepad, and paste it in, and click continue, and click continue one more time. And here is the final result. We now have our free Windows RDP server running in the AWS cloud. And that's it. Today we learned about the AWS free tier, how to create an AWS account, and how to deploy a Windows RDP server. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated with my latest content. Until next time, have a good one.